Hello, my name is Ismael Chivite. I am the Survey123 product manager, and with me is Sutherby, a product engineer in the team. Over the next 50 minutes, we are going to share with you an introduction to the product and some what's new highlights. At the end of the presentation, we will open for a live Q&A. This is our high-level agenda for the session. We will start with a brief intro to Survey123. Then we will go into details about how to work with online surveys, field data collection, automation and reports, and a brief section at the end with resources for you to learn more. What is Survey123? How people use it? How do you license it? Let's cover these questions first. Survey123 helps you build location-aware electronic forms for everyday workflows. I bet that there are still people in your organization creating their own Excel spreadsheets in their own computers to collect information. I bet there might be people even using paper forms, and you know all the problems associated with these old ways. With Survey123, you can easily convert these traditional forms into electronic forms for ArcGIS. This will help people collect data more quickly, more effectively, with fewer errors. You will be bringing all this information into the ArcGIS system of record, so it can be more easily managed, secured, visualized, and analyzed. There are plenty of opportunities for you to use Survey123 to make a positive impact in your organization. Did you know that you can use Survey123 to create online surveys for crowdsourcing? People use Survey123 online forms to collect information from the general public. Think about collecting damage reports after a severe weather event, or maybe gathering comments about urban plans, maybe reporting issues to the city via a Survey123 form. These forms can be embedded in your own website. They can be shared via social media. In this example, you can see some of the forms that were created to support emergency response operations after severe weather events in winter in Texas and Oklahoma. Note that social media was used to promote these forms, encouraging citizens to report damage in their property. As this information was being submitted, it was automatically mapped and shown in real-time ArcGIS dashboards. So a better response to the emergency could be coordinated. You can also quickly create Survey123 online surveys to support routine workflows in the office. You can create these surveys using Survey123 Web Designer, a visual tool that we will see in just a few minutes. Here is an example where a county in the US, Carlton County, actually created an entire process to handle COVID vaccinations using a Survey123 form and its automation tools. Many organizations are choosing Survey123 to support their field data collection workflows. Once a Survey123 form is downloaded into the app, it can work even if disconnected from the network. Survey123 mobile forms are used to support asset inspections, to report code violations and issues. When connected with external GNSS receivers, Survey123 forms are used for high accuracy data collection. There are many workflows where Survey123 forms provide field workers with an intuitive and effective user experience to collect data effectively from the field. You shouldn't think of Survey123 as just an app. Survey123 is a complete form-centric data collection system built on top of ArcGIS. It has multiple components. First of all, Survey123 includes tools for you to create surveys, specifically the Survey123 Designer, which we will demonstrate shortly, and Survey123 Connect for advanced designs. Survey123 also includes tools for you to get answers, to collect data. The Survey123 web application for online surveys, and the Survey123 field app to support field data collection workflows. Finally, the Survey123 product includes tools for you to share results. Dashboards, of course, come to mind right away. Survey123 has actually built-in dashboards and tools for you to view and analyze your survey results. But most importantly, Survey123 also includes a powerful report service, so you can take your data and create beautiful PDF reports out of it. Survey also includes out-of-the-box connectors with Microsoft Power Automate and Integromat, so you can easily automate tasks on top of your Survey123 data. Survey123 is included with ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. Depending on the user type and privileges that your account has been given, you will be able to do more or fewer things with Survey123. If you have a creator user type, you will be able to design and manage surveys, set up automation workflows, and create report templates. With the field worker user type, you can submit surveys from the field application and the web application. If you have an editor user type, you will be able to submit surveys, but only over the web. Finally, if you have a viewer user type, you won't be able to submit responses to surveys necessarily, but you will be able to view survey results and even generate Survey123 reports as well. For your reference, here is a table showing the exact things that each of the user types can do with Survey123. Okay, so that was the introduction. Now we are going to talk about how you can actually use the software. In this case, to build online surveys using Survey123 Web Designer. I'm currently logged in ArcGIS Online. The experience in ArcGIS Enterprise is very similar. You can see here I'm logged in. If I go to the app launcher, you will find the Survey123 shortcut right here. I'm going to put it in the top left corner because I will be using this often. The Survey123 website is specifically designed to help you manage, secure, and create your own Survey123 forms. Right from here, you can access the new survey option at the top. There are two different ways to create Survey123 forms. One of them is Survey123 Connect. This is an advanced tool that Zach will describe later. In my case, I'm going to use the Survey123 Designer. If you are getting started, if you want to build an online survey, my recommendation is that you start always with Survey123 Designer. You can go with a blank survey, start from scratch, or you can start with a template. In my case, I'm going to use the template gallery. You can see some of the designs we have here. I'm looking for a design to report hazard trees. So I'm going to select this one and have a quick look. This is simply a preview of the form design. If you like it, you can click here, and this will launch Survey123 Designer. From this tool, you can visually create your own forms, which is great because if you have an idea, you can turn it into a digital form very quickly. Let's use the preview option here. This is simply so you can see the initial form design. We have a question to capture the date. You can see that automatically pre-populates a question to define the location of the tree. Next, we have a question, does this tree represent a hazard? Yes or no? If you say yes, then two questions get presented. This is important. This is conditional visibility, which can help you simplify the data collection experience. And finally, you can also take additional photos. If the tree is not a hazard, you can always say no, and then those questions get hidden. Okay, so in my case, I actually want to make first a few modifications. First of all, I want to change the name of my project. So it's going to be a quick tree hazard report. I'm going to publish this survey online so all citizens can report tree hazard reports. Okay, that's the banner. Next, I want to add a new question. So you see here we have the email question. So I can drag and drop and then set the label, reported by. This is a question specifically designed to collect email addresses. I'm going to make it required so nobody can submit the survey without filling out this question. And for people who submit multiple times the form to report multiple trees, I'm going to select the option to cache the answer. So you type your email once, and then the next time you go and complete the form, that email is going to be present. You don't have to type it again. Let's have a look. The map question is going to help me collect the location of the tree. GPS tree location seems too technical, so I'm just going to change the label as well. Tree location. And now I want to do a little bit more, something a little bit more advanced. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually interested in the XY location, of course, of the tree, but also the closest address to it. So what I will do is I'm going to add a new question. So a single text question, drag it in, and say this is the closest address to the tree, that is. Now, I don't want people to use the map to set the location and then type the address. I actually want to make it much easier for people. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose this option, calculation, and I'm going to automatically calculate the closest address to this location using the tree location provided by the user. So you see, I say, go to the tree location question and extract. In this case, I want to extract the closest address. Okay, let's have a quick look. I'm going to preview this. So first of all, let's type in my email. You can see that it gives me a warning until a valid email address is entered. Next, I'm going to use my current location to set the location of the tree. And if I scroll down, the closest address is automatically calculated. Very nice. Okay, I really can choose if I want to present this question to the user or not. I could actually hide it. So if you see here, we have an option where you can say hide from survey. You can see here, this question is now hidden. So this is kind of an interesting option where you can calculate automatically data within your form using responses from the user without having to present these questions to the user. So now you can see that the question is gone. I don't see the closest address question, but under the covers, it's actually automatically calculated. And when you submit that value, that GIS attribute will be in your layer. Other interesting things I want to highlight here, the rules. So you may remember that if the tree represents a hazard, then these two questions are going to be shown, right? So I'm going to click here. You see this option, set rule. This is how we control the conditional visibility of questions. So if the answer to this question is yes, then show me question number 6, question number 7. And you can add additional rules in here. In fact, if you hover, you can see here that if you hover your mouse over this little number, if 5, does this tree represent a hazard is yes, then show this question. The same here. The visibility of the comments question is controlled by the question number 5. And if I go to question number 5 and I hover my mouse, it's also going to describe the rules. So these, I don't want to go into the details here, but these are kind of the different options you have in Web Designer to visually and quickly create your own forms with their own behavior. I also want to highlight here in photos, this is a question to collect photos. You can control, well, how many photos can people submit? You can specify a specific number of photos. You can say, I want always 2 photos. Or maybe you want to say, I want a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 4, or a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 4. So once you are happy with your design, you can actually save it and you can publish it. Once your survey is published, you can click on this link right here to get a QR code for your survey, or a link so you can open that survey. So as you can see, my survey is going to be presented in a web browser. And this is an online survey, right? You can now send the data. So let's complete the survey right here. Hazard, yes. Immediate action, yes. I'm going to submit. And voila, that's it. Now, this survey is not shared with anyone, so I can access it because I'm logged in, but nobody else can. So right from the Survey123 website, you can go into Collaborate and control access to your survey. So for example, in this case, I want to enable access to everyone. I'm going to say only add new records. In other words, I want people to freely access this survey, even without an ArcGIS account, but I don't want them to access the data. That's why in this option, I enabled only add new records. There are other options. Now I'm going to go into save. At this moment, the QR code I can share via social media. I could also copy the URL of my survey to share it somewhere else. I could even embed my survey within a website. You can see here there are different options for you to embed your survey. It's as easy as embedding a YouTube video in your website, really. Well, you can also embed a Survey123 form within your own website. And that's pretty much it. This survey is now available for really anyone to submit data to my organization. Now, as data comes in, I can go into the Data tab and explore all the incoming information from citizens. This is the actual tree hazard that I submitted just a minute ago. I can explore the data one row by row. There are other options like Analyze and others that you can use to analyze your data. You can export, you can create reports, and many other things. Now, I'm not going to go into these details as there are other sessions in the users conference where you can learn more things in detail. My goal here was really to give you a first introduction to the Survey123 designer and the website so you can see how easily you can get started and build your own forms. Now, for those of you that were already familiar with Survey123 Web Designer, I want to highlight new things that we added. First of all, the new ranking question. It's a new question type. It allows you to define a list, so users of the form can actually arrange the list in whatever order they want to express their preference. The new address question is kind of interesting. Generally, when you capture locations with Survey123 forms, you add a map. But you see, some people are not familiar with using the map. They actually want to express a location as an address. So the new address question is specifically designed to facilitate this. You can connect it to the locator of your organization, so people can start typing, getting suggestions for addresses that match. And then Survey123 will store the location, the XY coordinates, and or the actual address that the user typed. We saw calculations and hidden questions in the demonstration. We also added an option so you can randomly display choices in a list. This is very important when you want to avoid bias in responses. Not always you want to present the choices in that random order, but sometimes it's actually pretty handy. Looking at photo and file questions, we also kind of looked at this in the demo as well. You can definitely specify how many files or how many photos people would submit, but also I want to bring your attention to the image source section in here. So you can force people to take a photo with the camera, or you can also allow them to browse for existing images in their device. It's really up to you as the author of the survey. And finally, support for shared update groups. This is a very interesting addition. So there is this concept in ArcGIS of a shared update group where participants, members of the group, can actually not only use but also change certain aspects of the items in the group. So if you go to the Collaborate tab, you can see here Collaborate, and then you open the Update Survey section, you can specify the groups on which members will be able to edit the surveys in that group. So this facilitates collaborative design of your surveys. It allows a person who doesn't own the survey to change the title, the banner, fix typos in questions, add additional choices, etc. So very, very interesting new option. Now, if you want to learn more, I know this was very brief on online surveys and Designer. I would recommend you to attend the session on working with online surveys, where we will look at in more detail all these new things and other features for Designer. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach, who is going to talk about Survey123 for field data collection and Survey123 Connect.
Thank you, Ismael. I will now discuss taking your surveys in the Survey123 Field app and designing your surveys in Survey123 Connect. The Survey123 mobile app is great for collecting data in the field. For example, when you have remote workers who are required to capture data in areas where they cannot use the web form or have access to the internet. The mobile app can be used to capture new surveys and supports editing existing data by downloading previously collected surveys into the inbox. The inbox feature allows you to query your existing records from your feature service and download them onto the device, which enables editing when offline and submitting them again once you're back online. This is ideal for inspection workflows where assets need to be regularly inspected. Using the inbox, you can add new inspections for particular assets and maintain a system of record throughout time. The Survey123 mobile app is cross-platform and supported on iOS, Android, macOS, Windows, and Linux. I will now demo the Survey123 Field app in action. Here, in the ArcGIS Survey123 Field app, I have an invasive species inventory survey downloaded locally on my device. In this scenario, I already have several transects downloaded in the survey's inbox, and since I also have repeats present in the survey, with some additional parameters that I'll discuss later, all repeat records are downloaded as well. This allows me to view previous passes through the transect and add more species as they arise. Opening the survey, I have set the survey style to include pages and display survey questions in a grid theme so that the survey is more organized and can be easily filled out. I'll start by collecting information about the transect. Since this isn't going to change over time, this information is not within a repeat. I'll trace the line of my transect on the map, and I have a calculation that automatically calculates the length of the transect in meters. I'll then fill in the width of my transect, and as you can see, the transect is given a unique plot ID. I have a JavaScript function creating those unique plot IDs for me. Next, I'll select the state where the transect resides and select my soil texture as well as organic carbon within the soil. Moving on to the next page, I'll select the inspection date, time of year, and current weather. I'll fill in the number of observers within my group and drop the geopoint on the location of my invasive species. Given the location of the geopoint question, I have another JavaScript function providing some more information about the current weather conditions. I'll fill out the habitat type for this location and select the invasive species observed. One important note about this list of invasive species is that the list is populated from a CSV file containing over 1,200 species. An advantage of using a CSV for my choice list is the survey performs much faster, and I can use other information from the CSV in other areas of my survey. For example, the species kingdom, phylum, class, order, and family are all stored in the CSV and are now populated in my survey. Moving on, I'll select the number of this species observed and some additional information on its distribution. Next, I have a repeat of native species surrounding the invasive species. Just like the invasive species list, the native species list resides in a CSV file containing over 76,000 species. Since the list is in a CSV file, the survey has no problem loading 76,000 choices, and since I have the autocomplete appearance set, I can easily type in the name of the species I'm looking for. I then have a question to estimate the distance between the invasive species and the native species, and if the native species appears to be damaged. Since the native and invasive species sections are both repeats, I can advance one or both. For example, I can advance this inner native species repeat if there are multiple native species surrounding the invasive species. Alternatively, I can advance the outer invasive species repeat if another invasive species is encountered in the transect. I'll now submit and refresh my inbox showing the record just collected. Here, you can see I've set a custom name for each record displaying the unique transect ID and the date of the last collection. I'll select an older record that hasn't been updated in a while and advance to the collection of species. I'll advance the invasive species repeat, indicating a new invasive species has been observed. I can then fill out all the same information for this new species, and I will have any new species observed on record for this transect. Survey123 Connect provides you the flexibility to design forms that look and function as you want. Survey123 Connect is available on Windows, macOS, and Ubuntu Linux. Your survey is built using an XLS form, typically in Microsoft Excel, but if you're on macOS or Ubuntu, you can use their equivalents as well. When saved, your XLS form is converted into a form that can be used in the Survey123 Field app and web form. There are a number of samples present in Survey123 Connect to help you get started building powerful smart forms. Survey123 Connect is also the location where you can link online maps, map packages, and CSVs from your organization for use in your surveys. You can also stylize your survey and develop custom JavaScript functions directly within Survey123 Connect. I will now demo how the Brazil invasive species inventory we just looked at was created in Survey123 Connect. Switching over to Survey123 Connect, if I open the XLS form and select the Settings worksheet, you can see in the Style column I have set the style to Pages Theme Grid. This allows me to define what questions I want on what pages and display my questions side by side. Switching back to the survey worksheet, you can see the first begin group statement I have set W2 field list for the appearance. By setting field list in the appearance, this defines the group as its own page. By setting W2 in the appearance, this defines my grid to be 2 columns. By default, Survey123 will figure out the best way to display the questions based on the width defined. If you would like more control as to how many cells your question takes, you can explicitly specify that in the appearance. For example, I didn't want my GeoTrace question in one single cell, I wanted it in its own row. To achieve this, I had set the W2 appearance, which sets the GeoTrace in its own row, as the width of the question matches the width of the group. As discussed in the Field App section previously, the survey works with a species choice list that contains over 76,000 choices. This works by using the Select X from File question type, where X can be substituted with Select One from File or Select Multiple from File. As you can see here, I have set Select One from File and then the name of my CSV, which is Brazil_species.csv. Adding the file extension onto the name of the CSV is important so that Survey123 can find the correct file. The CSV file is stored in the media folder for my survey. In order for the CSV to work as a choice list, 2 columns are required, a name column and a label column. This is similar to the choices worksheet, but doesn't require the list name column. Again, since this is a CSV file, I can fill out as many other columns as I like with additional information and use the pull data function to extract information as choices are selected. I will discuss more about the improvements to choice lists shortly, but for now, let's discuss some common issues we've seen when using Select X from File. One issue is not including the file extension at the end of the file name in the XLS form. Another issue is if the name and label columns are not present in the CSV file. Survey123 requires these 2 columns in order to determine what value is stored and what value to display in the form. Other scenarios that will cause issues are if there are missing column headers in the CSV file, empty or blank columns at the end of the CSV, and duplicate column headers. In these scenarios, you will not see any choices in your survey, as the choice list will not be able to be populated from the CSV file. Additionally, when using cascading selects, if a SQLite reserved keyword is used as the cascading select criteria column, this will cause the cascaded choice list not to display. The reason for these issues are because Survey123 uses a database approach for managing choice lists. The scenarios noted above cause issues in the database, not allowing Survey123 to work as expected. As noted earlier, some additional configuration was needed in order for the repeats to return in the inbox. To do this, for each begin repeat set in the XLS form, under the bind Esri parameters, I needed to set query allow update equal to true. Specifying the query parameter tells Survey123 to query all records and download them to the related table. Setting allow updates to true allows existing records in a repeat to be updated when editing. Wrapping up, I can select the styling icon on the right-hand side of Connect to change the colors of my survey. Right now, I have the body background set as a lighter green compared to the header and footer. I can change this to an orange, for example, or even opt for an image instead of a solid background color. I'll now quickly demonstrate creating a new survey and an elemental XLS form design. XLS form isn't an Esri created specification, but a syntax standard that can be used to create calculations, skip logic, and rules for your forms. I'll navigate back to the My Survey Designs page and select New Survey. I'll select the Advanced template and give my form a name. Next, I'll add a couple of questions in my XLS form. For example, I'll add a geopoint question to capture a location, and I'll add a decimal question to capture a length. I'll add a Select One question and a few choices in the Choices worksheet. Survey123 Connect also supports a number of appearances. I'll go back to the Survey tab and add the horizontal appearance to my Select One question so that my choices display horizontally instead of vertically. When I save the spreadsheet, Connect automatically updates, allowing you to preview your survey and help you go through and design your form. Once you are happy with how your form looks and functions, you can publish the form to your ArcGIS organization. There have been a number of updates in ArcGIS Survey123 recently. A big one we've noted and are really excited about is the improvements around choice lists. A few other updates are new workflows to hide questions, custom JavaScript functions and the ability to develop them using the Scripts tab in Survey123 Connect, as well as the ranking question, choice filter functions, and new question types and appearances. Taking a bit of a look at the improvements to choice lists, in the past, choice lists would reside in the Choices or External Selects worksheets of the XLS form. This made updating choice lists laborious, as the lists would need to be updated in the XLS form and the survey would need to be republished. Having choices in the Choices worksheet also constrained the amount of choices that can be used. In the past, tens of thousands of choices in the Choices worksheet would cause performance issues and sometimes crashes on certain devices. Now, you can offload your large choice lists to a CSV file and use the Select X from File question type, and your form will perform much better when taking a survey. Using choice lists that contain tens of thousands of choices in a CSV will greatly improve your form loading times. For example, a choice list with 50,000 records will see a significant improvement if used in a CSV as opposed to the Choices worksheet. Moving your choices to a CSV file also opens the opportunity to make updating your choices easier, either through automation or a simple override of the CSV file. For example, your CSV file can reside in the media folder of your survey, or you can upload your CSV file to your ArcGIS organization and link that file to your survey. This allows you to update those CSVs either through a Python script or simply overriding the CSV in your content. The Survey123 Field app will recognize the difference and automatically use the latest version of the CSV. I will now briefly cover generating reports and automation workflows in ArcGIS Survey123. With Survey123, you can create stunning reports from your collected data. There are two key components to Survey123 reports. The first is the Survey123 website. This is where you will manage your report templates and create reports. The second is your ArcGIS organization. Your templates are stored here, as well as your generated reports in most cases. How do Survey123 reports work, you may ask? You start with designing a report template in Microsoft Word. This will contain all the formatting you are already familiar with when using Microsoft Word, along with some additional syntax to populate tables, maps, photos, and even summaries and statistics. The next step is to upload your template to the Survey123 website. You can add multiple templates to the same surveys for various purposes. Finally, you can generate your reports. These can be single records or batch records as PDFs or docx. Here are some new features and enhancements that were introduced for reports. The online quick reference page is a new experience to help you learn the exact syntax you need. You can then apply the syntax to your report template. It includes all supported expressions for all question types in a specific survey. Additionally, now you have more fine-grained control over formatting for number and date-time questions by specifying a locale or UTC offset parameters. Improvements have also been made regarding the performance of reports containing a large number of maps. Now that you have an understanding of the Survey123 website, field app, Connect, and Report functionality, you may want to automate some of your workflows. Workflows such as sending emails when a survey is submitted, generating reports as surveys roll in, or generating reports monthly can all be automated using tools Esri provides. There are 3 common ways to automate Survey123 workflows. They are through webhooks, using the ArcGIS API for Python, or using the Survey123 Report REST API in a custom application. Using webhooks, you can generate reports or send emails immediately in real time when a survey is submitted or updated. This would be ideal for workflows that need to send emails to survey responders containing their report, or add reports to a cloud storage provider for future analysis. Using the ArcGIS API for Python, you can clone surveys from one organization to another. Say you have a number of surveys shared to a group in one ArcGIS Online organization. Using the ArcGIS API for Python, you can clone those surveys to another ArcGIS organization and share them to a different group in that organization, choosing to keep the existing data or only clone surveys and related content to start collecting new records. Additionally, you can generate reports at regularly scheduled intervals. Say you want summary reports generated each month. You can generate summary reports for the past month and automatically upload the report to your organization, or store them in your organization's local file share. The Survey123 Report REST API includes all the functionality of running reports directly through the Survey123 website or the ArcGIS API for Python, but is designed to integrate the report capability into your own applications. I will now demo how to work with attachments in Microsoft Power Automate to send an email each time a survey is submitted, including any images attached to the survey as attachments to the email. Here, in Microsoft Power Automate, I'll select New Flow, then Automated Cloud Flow. I'll give my flow a name and search for the Survey123 connector as my flow's trigger. I'll add a new connection in the Survey123 module to my ArcGIS Online organization. And select the survey I would like to send emails from. In this scenario, I have a manhole inspection survey that I would like to send some information from the survey to my department's email alias each time a new survey is submitted. I'll add a new action and search for the initialize variable action. I'll give the variable a name like manhole photos and set the type as array. I'll leave the initial value blank for now, but this is going to be the variable that holds our attachments for us later on. Next, I'll add the HTTP module to download the attachments. I'll set the method to post, and for the URI, I'll use dynamic content to set the feature attachment URL for my image question. Since my survey is shared only to my organization, I'll add the access token in the request as well. You will see that Microsoft Power Automate automatically added an apply to each block around my HTTP module. The reason for this is because Survey123 attachments are modeled as an array. This is because a single image question can contain one or multiple attachments. After the HTTP module, I'll add an append to array action. For the name, I'll select the variable I defined above, and for the value, I'll paste in a JSON string specifying the content bytes and unique name of the attachments. I'll need to replace the content bytes with an expression, and for the name, I'll use dynamic content to populate the attachment name. Finally, I'll add the Microsoft Outlook Send an Email connector to send my attachments in an email. I'll set the To field to be my department's alias. I'll then set the email subject and body. Since I want to include some additional information from the survey in the email's body, I'll add some dynamic content from the survey. Next, selecting the Show Advanced Options dropdown, under Attachments, I'll select my variable that contains my attachments. Now that the webhook is configured, let's test it. I'll save my flow and select the test icon. I'll select the option to manually perform the starting action to trigger the flow. Switching over to the Survey123 Field app, I'll now fill out a test record. I'll fill out the current weather and manhole ID. I'll set the geopoint location over the manhole location and fill out some additional information on the manhole. This additional information will be included in the body of my email. Next, I'll add the image attachments of the manhole and any defects with the manhole. I'll now submit my survey, and if we switch back over to Power Automate, we can watch the flow run in real time. Now that it's successfully completed, let's check the email that was sent. As you can see, the dynamic content populated in the email, as well as all the attachments submitted with the survey. This was just one use case of automation in Survey123, although there are many more. Please check out our Esri community blogs on automation workflows, as well as our Introduction to Reports UC presentation for more automation workflows in Survey123.
Thank you, Zach. That was great. Let's have a look at where you can learn more. Well, first of all, in about a minute, we are going to have a live Q&A, so you can start submitting your questions right now. Also, there are 4 more sessions at the Esri UC conference this year covering Survey123. You can see them listed here. Again, I want to emphasize that right after every one of these sessions, there will be also a live Q&A. And finally, throughout the conference, you can look for Survey123 experts during the conference, and you can contact us directly so we can have one-on-one conversations with you. So with that, please use the session survey link at the bottom to provide your feedback, and see you at the live Q&A in just a second.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm actually the product marketer for Survey123, and today I'm joined with Ismael and Zach. You just heard their great presentation. Now, throughout that presentation, we learned a lot about you through the polls, so thank you so much for that feedback. And also, thanks for the great questions. We're actually going to get to those right now. So without further ado, let's get started. All right. You can keep asking questions, by the way. The first question, is there a way to save your form as a template for others in your organization to use? Zach, are you able to help us with that one?
Yes, thank you, Jackie. Yeah, thank you for your question. So in order to have your form as a template for others in your organization, in Survey123 Connect, when you create a new survey, on the left-hand side, you'll see a number of options. You can either use one of our templates or a community template. On those options, there's the ability to use a template from your organization, and that will pull from any forms that are saved to your organization.
All right, awesome. And can they customize base maps, Ismael?
Yes, you can select which base map should be shown in every one of your map questions using Survey123 Connect. In Designer, you can also control the base maps shown in the organization's base map, and those will be available, so you can choose them in Designer.
Perfect. Justin, great question. Is there a way to create a PDF copy of a filled out form, then email it to a customer out in the field for enterprise, not a GOL? Ismael, are you able to help with that one?
Yeah, totally. Survey123 has a report service, and it allows you to create Word documents and PDF documents out of your data. It works with online. It also works with ArcGIS Enterprise. So all you need to do really is to invoke the report service, create the file, and then email it. This can be done with Python. This can be done with JavaScript. This also can be done without coding with the Survey123 connector that we have in Integromat.
Great. All right, I got another one for you, Ismael. Are you ready? Can people who do not have an Esri or ArcGIS Online account see Survey123 results? If not, how can the public or non-GIS people who took the survey see the results?
Yeah, they can. If you share your survey results publicly, people don't need an account to access the results. This is all controlled from the Survey123 website. Go into your survey, collaborate, and then flip to the Share Results panel. In there, you can say share with everyone, then everyone can see it.
Awesome. We've heard a lot from you, Ismael. How about one for Zach? Does Survey123 support attribute rules for EGDB?
So when you're creating the form, your attribute rules from your enterprise geodatabase won't apply. Survey123 will use your XLS form logic in order to perform a very similar workflow. That being said, if your attribute rules still, if your enterprise geodatabase is registered with your ArcGIS Enterprise environment, and those attribute rules still trigger when you edit in a web map, for example, when you submit the survey, I would still expect those attribute rules to trigger if it's also triggering in the web map.
Okay, great. And then how about another one for you, Zach? Can I create reports if the survey is hosted in my portal and or was created using Survey123 Connect? If the survey is in my portal, does it cost credits to create those reports?
So if the survey is in your ArcGIS Enterprise organization, it will not cost credits to create reports. A couple of requirements for using the report service with ArcGIS Enterprise is if you want attachments, you'll need to be 10.8.1 or above, as that's when attachment keywords were supported in ArcGIS Enterprise. Your ArcGIS Enterprise environment needs to be accessible over the internet. So that means no VPN or anything. You should be able to access it outside of company resources. Your ArcGIS Enterprise deployment wouldn't be able to use integrated Windows authentication for the authentication scheme.
Okay. Ismael, now I hear surveys are great for discovering where your inventory is, but what about using the same survey to come back and inspect your inventory without adding new features?
That's a very common workflow, a very common pattern. People use Survey123 forms to do routine inspections, where you don't want to create a new asset every time you inspect. You rather want to edit the information in that asset or store in a related table your inspection. All of these routine workflow inspection or inspection workflows are supported through the inbox. So throughout the conference, connect with the team and learn a little bit about the Survey123 inbox. You will be amazed how many things you can do with it.
Now, speaking of the inbox, will Survey123 support attachments in the inbox, Zach?
Yes, great question. So we currently have this functionality in beta in our early adopter community. So if you would like to play around with what we currently have with working with attachments in the inbox, please hop on our early adopter community and test out our latest beta builds, and we'd be very happy with your feedback and any issues encountered.
Great. Now, Ismael, can we collect polygon or line using Survey123?
Yes. That's simple.
Done. Mic drop. Okay, great. Good one. Okay, can you upload an existing polygon feature class that has data and create a new survey to collect new data against these features? How about you, Ismael?
Sure, you can. I mean, you can, first of all, you can create a survey to collect polygons and then use the append geoprocessing tool or the append option in your portal to load data into that surveys layer. Alternatively, you can use Survey123 Connect to create a survey on top of an existing polygon feature layer. Both workflows should go.
Okay, great. Now, Brian's asking, when will I be able to generate reports using Power Automate? Zach, can you help us with that one?
Yes, thank you, Brian. Yeah, just like you mentioned, we don't have an out-of-the-box connector at the moment. We do have an issue log that we have in our backlog. The workflow is technically possible at the moment. You would need to use the Survey123 report REST API, but that would require some knowledge of working with APIs in Power Automate. But the workflow is technically possible. But again, at the moment, we don't have the out-of-the-box connector.
Okay. Ismael, can I use the address entered in a map question to pre-populate other questions? Would that prevent me from having to have a map question followed by asking them for their address or geocoding their address later?
Right. Yeah, there are different ways in which you can do this. So to your question, using an XLS form expression, you can definitely collect the address that people type in the map widget and persist it in a visible or maybe a hidden question, your choice. But more interestingly, very soon, you will see a new type of question, is the address question. It allows people to enter an address, no map. So it's more web accessible. For a lot of people, it's actually simpler. So I encourage you to learn about the new address question because it opens new ways to do things.
Absolutely. Zach, now instead of making a point locality, can people draw a polygon in the survey to mark an area?
Yes, of course. I think Ismael had mentioned this a little bit earlier, but if you use the Geoshape question type, you'll be able to draw a polygon in your Survey123 survey.
Awesome. I'll stick with you for a second here. Now, as an improvement, could you make it possible to export the Survey123 forms to PDF or Word?
You can use the feature report functionality to export your survey forms to either PDF or Word. And then if you're in the Survey123 website, you should be able to export as a, I don't think you can export it as a PDF from the Survey123 website. But from the Survey123 website, you can export it as a file geodatabase, a CSV, shapefile, any of the Esri supported formats when you're exporting a feature service from ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise.
Okay, perfect. And how do you pull multiple attachments from your survey into a report when you use the multi-line appearance? That's probably a good one for you, Zach, as well.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure, yeah. How do you pull multiple attachments from your survey into a report when you use the multi-line appearance?
I'll actually defer that one over to Ismael.
Oh, sorry. You were my report guy. Ismael, can you help us?
Well, I think that the multi-line appearance in reports will present the images as an array. So there is syntax specifically to display arrays. But just in case I'm not correct, please connect with us later on after this session, just so we make sure 100% that we have the right answer for you.
Absolutely. Now, can you specify an area where you only want the location in, like a municipality, Zach?
Yep, you can pre-specify a Geoshape question in your survey. If you have, for example, a drop-down list and you have the coordinates of that drop-down list, you can calculate that Geoshape question dynamically based on what's selected in that drop-down list.
Okay, perfect.
I think the question, Jackie, is more about, say I work for the city of New York. Can I create a survey where people can only enter points within the city of New York?
Oh,
it's like a special filter, right? That's
sure.
kind of a very common question. And it is possible that this is done right now through a custom JavaScript function, which you can enable on your web and field application. It's not for beginners, it's an advanced workflow, but it's possible that way.
Now, we may have actually answered this earlier. I'm not 100% sure, but Kat was asking, is there a limit to the number of photos we can attach? And how about videos? Ismael, maybe you could take that one for us.
Yes, so in regards with the number of photos you can attach, this is controlled by the author of the survey, both in Designer and Connect. You can say, I want to collect a maximum of 5 photos, or anything between 3 photos and 17. So it's really your call. That's with photos. With videos, we don't support videos just yet.
Mm-hmm. Not yet. All right. Well, Zach, where does the list in CSVs go? Does it go to the media folder?
That is correct. Yep. If you're using CSV lists, you will place them in the media folder.
They answered their own question. Awesome. Okay. Is there a way to make reports without using credits, Ismael?
Can you repeat?
Is there a way to make a report without using any credits?
Well, I mean, first of all, if you are using the report service from ArcGIS Enterprise, you will not spend a credit ever creating reports with Enterprise. If you are in ArcGIS Online, you can create reports for free using the preview feature. They will be watermarked, they will not be selectable or editable, but you can use the free previews.
Okay. And Nathan's wondering, is it possible to add a not a robot checker at the end of a survey?
Not at the moment. This is something that I see coming in the future. We don't have a date, but not at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Zach, is there a tally question option in Survey123? For example, if I wanted to report the number of trees by species while walking in Transect, is there a question type where I can add or subtract from the total with plus or minus buttons?
Yep, just like it was demoed in the presentation, there is an appearance that you can use to either add or subtract. It shows on either side of the integer question, and you can hit the little plus to increase that or hit the minus to decrease that.
Okay, perfect. Ismael, Tori, she's from Pasadena. She's wondering, they use Survey123 to create power infrastructure inspection worksheets, and they like to include a computer-generated work order number on our forms, but they don't know how to do that. Is that something you can help them with?
Yes, we actually have a blog published. It's called in Esri Community. It's something like creating ticket numbers with Survey123. It explains different techniques.
Perfect.
If you have a web service that generates these numbers, you can actually invoke it using a calculation within Survey123.
Okay, great. So we can get that link for you if you don't have that handy. So Llama's looking for this answer, Zach, is for you. Can you show your JavaScript for auto-populating the weather condition fields? And will this script work on any device and any other users' logins, credentials who will have access to the form?
Yeah, so what's really nice with that JavaScript is it's in the JavaScript sample that's already present in Survey123 Connect. So if you just check out the JavaScript sample in Survey123 Connect, you'll be able to see how that's created. And then, yeah, any device that is online will be able to obtain the weather. Pretty much all it does is it queries an API using your current location, and then the API returns the weather for that current location.
Awesome, thank you. Ismael, this person can pull data from their map features to pre-populate some survey questions, but why is their survey data not spatially connected to the feature that was selected? It's just random points off the coast of Africa, and they gave the coordinates 0, 0.
Okay, well, I'm guessing that means that you have not populated the geopoint question you have in your survey. So think of it as your geometry is like any other attribute. Just like you populate a date or text, you also need to populate the geometry if you want that point to appear somewhere in the map. Otherwise, we will default to 0, 0. It's like having an empty answer. So an empty answer for geopoints is null island, meaning the coast of Africa, latitude 0, longitude 0. That's why you see the points there.
Okay, that makes sense. Hey, Zach, when this person exports their data, the datetime field adjusts. Is there a way for the export to just show the actual date and time as shown in the browser?
Yeah, so if you're using the reports, there's a UTC offset parameter when you're creating the report, so that will automatically adjust it for you. But if you're exporting it either from the Survey123 website or from the feature service itself, it's probably going to show in UTC time.
Okay, perfect. Jeremy's wondering, at what point is it recommended to use a CSV list rather than develop the list in Survey123? Maybe Ismael, could you help with that one?
Sure. I think the use of CSV files to define your lists is best for very long lists. That's the most common use case. What is a very long list? I would say anything with more than 200, 300 choices probably goes best into a CSV list. The other reason to use CSV lists is streamlining the process by which these lists are updated. So sometimes we have lists where the choices change. So every week you want to change the list. If you persist the list in the XLS form, you need to go into the XLS file and publish the survey again to refresh the list. However, if you use a CSV list and this list is persisted in ArcGIS Online as an item, all you need to do is to update the CSV, and then all the surveys will be automatically updated in the devices.
There's definitely benefits to that for sure. Zach, I've got a question for you. Can all users update existing surveys from the inbox or only update surveys that they create themselves?
If you're using the inbox, yep, users should be able to update all surveys from the inbox. Okay. And if you would like to set it up so that they can only edit their existing ones, then you can use a query parameter for the inbox.
Yeah. I'm guessing maybe if you can't, like technically as Zach is describing, you should be able to do it. However, if you have configured the feature layer to only allow the owner of the record to change it, then Survey123 will not allow you to do that. So you want to make sure the permissions in the feature layer are set appropriately for that workflow too.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I think we've got time for another question, and then I think that's it for today. When will the geocoder no map needed to get a geopoint be out of beta? Will we be able to exclusively use our custom geocoding service? And will it be a truly required question, no default? Well, by one question, there's 3 questions in there. Did you get them all, Ismael?
Yeah, the release date, our aim is to release in September. And the second question was, oh yeah, custom locators. Yes, in Connect in September, you will be able to set up a custom locator using a parameter in XLS form. And in Designer, that will come later, potentially before the end of the year. That's our intent. So you can easily change the locator in Designer. The last one with the default, I'm not sure, is the intent here to create a default value for that question?
It seemed like they didn't want it to be a default. I'm not 100% sure.
In that case, make it required. Make the question required and set the default value to blank. And then you are forcing people to always type an address. So you will get a point.
Okay. Wow, we got so many great questions today, everybody. And there's so many we didn't get to. So we'll have to work on getting those answers to you, and we promise we will. But thank you so much for joining us and being so engaged in our session today. We have more sessions coming up, and we can't wait to see you there as well.